Well, hello, folks. Welcome to this second part of my journey through wargaming. Um, yeah, after all the stuff like 4th edition, stuff like that, and all the wargaming stuff that I did in the previous video, I mentioned to you I went through a slump of not doing so much, and I think that's because I discovered women, booze, partying, and madness in life. Um, yeah, so things were on a back burner. I still dabbled a bit, um, not very often though. Obviously, work was the big thing as well. Um, yeah, and that sort of takes over your life. I still played a few games. By this time, I was playing plenty of 4th edition, 5th edition of fantasy. Dabbled in a bit of historical with the guys from the club. Used to have big weekend games or day games doing historical stuff and enjoyed that. So, I don't mind both, to be fair, fantasy or historical. I'm not one of these that's fixed in what I do. But yeah, I was still dabbling in the painting. Yeah, I think GW, I was sort of like still keeping abreast of stuff that was being done. I think at this point, Marauder Miniatures had been sucked back into Citadel Miniatures. Got to meet several people that worked in the design studio, etc., which I'll touch on another video. It's not a matter of name dropping, it's because when I was in one of my first jobs, I used to fit tyres, exhaust, motor vehicle mechanics, and all that lot. And Dave Andrews came in and we did some repairs and fixed or put new tyres and stuff on his car. And I got chatting to him, not because of the Games Workshop thing, just because you do that with customers. And I says to him, "Oh, it's me and my mates go out around town." And we were all a member of the long hair club, and Dave still had long hair at the time. And I said to him, did a bit of hobbying. So anyway, one night he did come out, met us in town, and went out and had various copious amounts of booze. And obviously getting to know Dave and stuff. He had not long since released through Foundry his World War II range, his first World War II range. Sorry, not World War II, World War One range. And at this point, I was going around to see him. I used to sit watching him paint. And Dave gave me some sage advice, to be fair. He said to me, "Your figures are about faces and bases, keeping it tidy and working from dark to light," which I was vaguely doing the dark to light anyway. He said to me, he says, "I can't teach you how to paint. The best thing you can do is, do as much painting as you can, and eventually you'll get better." Which, watching him and asking what colours he used, sort of started me painting to level to increase, as in quality wise. So yeah, and with that, I got involved when he was doing his World War One stuff in quite a large display game at Partisan, of which I got to meet various characters from GW, like I said previously. I was dabbling as I went on, I think mid-20s, not long after my son was born. I started after an accident with epilepsy, and it made it pretty difficult. I had to surrender my bike licence, give up a lot of things, obviously, and I was working at Eatham's, a very old clothing company, loading and unloading wagons, and I had several issues where, unfortunately, I ended up not being able to work there anymore. So I started doing painting again to try and take my mind off stuff while bringing my son up. And at that point, I really got back into wargaming. Did a bit of historical stuff a bit of this, bit of that. Never really focused on big armies. Started getting back into wargaming. It was all 5th edition. We were playing Necromunda. We used to play the bejesus out of Necromunda. Some of the other guys, played other stuff. And it were all happy times. Next set of paints came out, or had already been out, the octagonal ones with the white lids. They'd come out and got various different paint books on that. Used to read them, find out different techniques. Some of them a bit too over elaborate for me. A bit silly daft. But it's it was all good stuff at the time. So I was heavily into that. Went to GW a lot more. Friar Lane was my nearest one in Nottingham. Ended up going to one of the games day. I think it was the launch of Gorka Morka. By this time, I really got to know some of the guys from GW. I weren't close friends, but got to know them through Dave and on speaking terms and giggle and laughs terms with them. So that was all in there. That was a good laugh. And I ended up talking to the editor of White Dwarf, and I can't remember who it was. It was just before Paul Sawyer. And he sort of heard about me painting, and I got Bretonnian Army at the time. So I was invited down to Nottingham when head office was in Nottingham, just below Castle. So went there, had a bit of an interview with somebody, nobody of great importance. He didn't know much about painting, asking me silly questions. Went round the studio at the time. I think it was all the army painters that were in one room. None of the studio, heavy metal team were in there, I think. Didn't get to meet any of the sculptors, even though I knew some. My figures were taken away and photoed, and somebody says, somebody that worked there, some of your figures have been photographed. He says, no, they're not mine. He says, no, whose they are. I quickly shuffled it round, met Paul Sawyer for the first time. And he asked me what I thought of White Dwarf, and I says it was more like a comic because he had Kapow and Thwack and all that lot, some of the White Dwarfs. I don't know whether he was offended, he just sort of giggled. But that's when White Dwarf sort of changed a bit wacky for me. The whole experience of that, wasn't good. It is what it is, and at some point after that, I think GW moved to where it is now at Lenton. Me and 2 or 3 of the guys started to go down there, and there was a club started. I can't remember what day it was met, but went to there, and obviously Robin Dews and what's his name now? Jervis Johnson used to turn up playing games, playing games. People would get involved, got to know them pretty well. I vaguely knew them anyway through other people. And it was good. Playing a lot of 5th edition at that time. It was all good. Paints were changing. I think they'd gone from the white flip tops to the hexagonal black flip tops by this period. I can't remember exactly, but I know using those as well. Using them to paint historical stuff. Quite like those paints, to be fair. They were more of a matte finish. Some sensible colours in amongst them, as well as some garish ones as well. Enjoyed that. All was good. And then at one point, with going down to this club at Lenton, it was still when it was still a sports hall. And they'd organised something where people were turning up. I can't remember exactly what, some sort of mini tournament thing. And Robin Dews and Jervis Johnson came to me and said, would you like to paint some figures? Yeah. And it was just before the Dogs of War came out. and I got given a fistful of Alicante pikemen. Was asked if I'd paint them and to come along to play mercenary. I thought, cool. That's when GW was still good and treated people right. Was still, calling on its fan base. Was very approachable. There was interaction between designers and games players, and games designers and figure designers. So yeah, it was all good. So I got them painted up. It came to the weekend of gaming. Obviously, because travel was an issue for me with having no license. Scared to travel anywhere because my seizures were quite rapid at the time. They laid on a taxi for me from my house to there. Spent all day there on the Saturday. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Free food and everything else. Nobody's going to knock that. I weren't in it for that, but you're not going to knock it if it's offered. So yeah, I did one day. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Went back for the second day. Enjoyed that. Same thing. Taxi there, back, and what have you. Yeah, it was quite amusing because nobody knew about Dogs of War or pikemen. Obviously, I joined in on somebody's team, and it's only humans. Well, soon spank them. Not knowing the rules that if you're mounted, you're stuffed if you charge to the front. If you were on foot fighting, I think it was 2 or 3 ranks of pikemen. So yeah, it was a bit of a shock at the time because nobody knew how to fight them. Dogs of War weren't the greatest of army when it developed anyway, but it was fun. So yeah, that led me down the Dogs of War route to do an army of them. So all things were good. I started doing display games later on myself at the Partisan show when it was at Kelham Hall, before it moved to where it's today. So it started me down the route of doing display games, demo games. At this point as well, when I was going to Nottingham, there was a shop just above Games Workshop 1 at Friar Lane. I think it was called the Trading Post. I'm not 100% sure. And they got Flintlock in. Matt Coxhead, he was guy behind it driving it, and it was Napoleonic Fantasy. Now that really took a hold of me, and I got into that in a big way. Ended up doing quite a lot of demo games, display games at shows of that, and then Deadlock come out, and that was absolutely amazing. And I did quite a large demo game that, if I remember right, it was 6 foot by 8 foot castle wall along one side, road system, some buildings that me and my mate had done. We all lift off roofs and floors, all scratch built. So yeah, it was all tickety boo, quite enjoyable. I was doing a bit of reenactment as well, doing English Civil War, was collecting English Civil War figures and all sorts of random stuff which most war gamers are guilty of doing. But yeah, the journey was quite good. Went around quite a lot of shows as a punter. Sheffield Triples, Worlds at Derby at the old city centre place. So yeah, getting to meet other people within the business through various other contacts. Yeah, it was all good stuff. So yeah, that was the middle period really, leading up to close to where we are now. I did 6th edition, 7th edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle and the 8th, but after sort of the 6th it started to wane for me. I wasn't interested at all about doing really massive armies and making you buy more, and yeah, at this point things started to wane between the customer and people working in the design studio. You didn't get to know what were going out. They were all tight-lipped. You were still getting to meet people and credits were given in White Dwarf, but things started to change, and I think that's when they ended up on, just before or a bit before that, ended up on stock market with shareholders and things like that. And for me, that's when GW and all that lot started to change. But I still bought stuff, but not to the extent of as I was doing. So yeah, I ended up getting quite heavily into Flintlock and Deadlock. I really enjoyed that. historical wise, like I said, English Civil War and various other bits and bobs and Western stuff. So yeah, that was sort of the journey then, and the paints had gone from the hexagonal parts with the black lids to the flip top hexagonal with black lids. I'd already done the hexagonal bottles with the white lids, which was sort of like the second incarnation of the paints. Then eventually the Citadel paints turned into like the bullet shaped type ones that are similar to now. The old range transferred into that, and then one or two colours. It's when your foundation paints came in. Then they changed all the range again, and it's changed again. I mean, can't keep up with new range, and it's not very often I use colours from that anyway. Vallejo would come out, and that was all the big rage. Jumped on bandwagon with that. Still using Vallejo today. Coat Drams was still about. They were the original style Games Workshop ones that first came out. What else? There was Panzer Aces eventually came out, which was another version of Vallejo, and then Vallejo Game Colour came out, and I quite enjoyed using them. Well, they've changed now. Still enjoy using those. So yeah, so that's sort of up till now. Gaming, demo gaming, display games. Yeah, so it's been quite an entertaining journey so far, or up until that point. And yeah, it's still look back with fond memories, but as I say, the Games Workshop thing and everything started to change. Oh, and during this point, I used to go across to Wargames Foundry. We're based at Basford, and you could go in and still buy individual figures at this point. Marauder Miniatures were sculpting upstairs in a small room as well. That place before they moved. Yeah, met Ali. Well, I'd already known I met Trish, and Colin Dixon I knew from playing the World War One game with Dave Andrews. That time we did a big game of that. So yeah, I started to get knowing one or two more folk from GW. But yeah, the giggles we've had, the entertaining stories that they've had from me as well and witnessed. So yeah, so it was all good. Yeah, so yeah. Anyway, thank you to everybody that subscribed. I've hit more than the 120, and I said I wanted to get to 130 by the end of October. So if you all could do that, it'd be brilliant. I've had several people just join overnight and left me nice kind messages of support and what have you. So thank you very much. I can't remember all the handle names or YouTube names, but again, thank you, much appreciated. If you'd like, subscribe and all that gumph these videos if you like and are enjoying them. If you made it this far, thank you. But yeah, so that's the second part of the journey of my wargaming. Probably very brief, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good stuff. So enjoy your day. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, please like, subscribe, whack that notification button and whatever other gizmos and gadgets are on here on thingy. And it's still no frills, still the Luddite. So cheers. Thank you. Catch us all later. Bye.